Здравствуйте, дорогие коллеги. Здравствуйте. Я извиняюсь за то, что мы немножечко сегодня опоздали. Я надеюсь, что... Да, вот 2 человека присоединились. Отлично. Мгм. Да, мы немножечко опоздали, но вот мы сегодня проводим второй вебинар. Анжелы, как я и обещала. Все будет хорошо. Сейчас, секундочку. Okay. How many people are here? 2 people are watching us. Okay, great. 3 people. Okay. Okay. Angela, you can start.
Okay.
I think that you can start because people, they're starting to come. We were a little bit late. We are awfully sorry. We were 10 minutes late, but we're going to continue our webinars on Saturday. And today I'm going to give the floor to our speaker, guest speaker. She was with us a week ago. And her webinar was devoted to reading in a language classroom. So today Angela is going to talk on the topic, and I think, Angela, that you will introduce the topic yourself. Okay? Okay,
Perfect.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's great to be back. I enjoyed myself so much last week, and I'm very happy that you have me back for another week. So welcome to everybody who is listening or watching online. Last week we did about reading. We did about trying, especially with digital platforms, and trying to get students to use digital platforms to help with their reading. And this week we're going to look at something a little bit different. We're going to look at gamification. Now, I secretly think that I am still a child, and inside me, my child is still there, and because I love playing games. And every chance that I get, I feel that, the more games we have in our life, the more exciting life is. I always feel that, I'm very competitive naturally, I think, which we're going to talk about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing a bit later on. But I think that games play great importance to our life. And probably many of the times we are actually playing games when we don't actually realize that we are doing it. It could be a game with our friends, or it could be a game online, or it actually could be a game with ourselves, trying to improve something in ourselves. So we are actually playing games every single second of the day. We are playing games a lot, and sometimes we don't actually realize it. And we're also going to talk about how games are useful in the classroom, how different forms of games can be used to develop different ideas. At the same time, of course, in this digital world, we're going to look at how digital platforms can also help students learn through games. And we're going to look at why games are really important for something as simple as classroom behavior, because that is actually a great factor that games are being used by teachers currently. Okay, so, and again, it's going to be a little bit interactive. So anytime you have any questions, please write them. I can see the chat box on the YouTube channel. So please write me your questions. Please let me know what you're thinking, and we will go through this together. So if you're ready, off we go. Okay, so welcome to gamification. We will look at how games are used in the classroom and how games can be used to make English lessons interesting. Students like to be interested. They like to be active, and they like competition. Many students we know play online games, or they play games on their phones, or they have, they are gamers themselves. They will say that's what they are. But how can we enhance it so that we are actually using it for learning? How can we use this idea for games so that we can use it for learning? This is a great chance for us as teachers to teach them in a way that they like, in a way that they feel comfortable with, in a way that makes them, use skills without actually knowing that they are learning at the same time. So that's what gamification, I think, is all about. So my first question to you, what kind of games do you play? Do you play games at home? Do you play board games? Now, as a family, it was very traditional for us when I was a child that we used to play every Sunday afternoon. We used to play a board game. It was either Monopoly or, something like, we had a game called Game of Life, I remember, or it was some sort of game. We weren't so much into card games like the picture is, but we were into games that, board games, and it was a good way for us to spend time together as being a family. Good for us, and it brought about, I have one sister, and so it brought about the competitive streak in us. And we used to play games together all of the time. And when I think back, these games were there for us to be social together. They were also there for us to, learn things. We learned about strategy. We learned about how to, some critical thinking skills, especially something like Monopoly, where you have to think about should I buy this property, should I sell it, how much should I sell it for, should I buy a house, do I have enough money? It's a bit like learning about life, basically. You have to plan the things ahead. So games are a good way of learning things in a whole respect, and I really enjoyed this time every Sunday playing games with my family, my dad, my mom, my sister, and me. It was something that we did after having Sunday lunch together, and I really, really enjoyed it. And thinking about it, that's probably kept on my interest of playing games, because I was constantly exposed to games as a child. I mean, of course, at this time, there was no internet, there was no technology. We had board games. We sat down at the table between the four of us and we played things together. But it was a good way for us to learn about strategy. It was a good way for us to learn about different things. And also a good way for us to learn about each other and learn exactly what they are thinking. So if you did play some games, please let me know right in the chat box. Okay. Now, can I ask, does anybody have one of these? I've got one. I bought the first one about 4 years ago. And I think I'm on my third one at the moment. I broke two of them. I was very careful with them. One of them went in the washing machine, which is not a good idea. But have you got one? This is a great, great example of how we play a game with ourselves, how we use digital information to basically play a game with ourselves. Now you can say, what does that mean? Okay, it's a smartwatch. This is actually a Fitbit that I have. And so I wear it every day. And it tells me, how many steps I've done, what my heart rate is, whether I've walked up enough stairs or not, whether I've slept enough, whether my body temperature is too hot or too cold. And at the same time, it also tells me who's calling or who's sending me messages. But you can set yourselves goals with these. I'm sure you do. The first idea of me getting this was because I decided that I needed to get fit and I needed to do so many steps in a day. Okay. So I needed to make sure that I managed to get the maximum number of steps that I did. So every time I'm trying to use this as a way to, push myself a little bit further forward by, okay, today I'm going to walk 7,000 steps, but tomorrow I'm going to walk 8,000 steps. I used to put goals on them and try and get to the goal. And because I'm quite competitive, even though I'm competing with myself, I'm not competing with anybody. I was still, if I set myself a goal, I was still there to, try and succeed in it. Or if my heart rate was higher than it normally is, or, if I didn't sleep enough. You can also give yourself sleep goals. You need to sleep 7 hours in a deep sleep or 6 hours in a deep sleep, for example. And these are all ways of gamification. It's a kind of game, but you're playing with yourself. You're actually, fighting against yourself. You're trying to succeed, trying to push yourself forward to do something. A couple of people have wrote in the chat box that they play Go board games and Monopoly like me. Did you enjoy them? Some people don't like playing games. Some people think that, they're just a waste of time. So does anybody have one of these? And do you use it? And is it a game to you? Do you see it as a kind of game? Because I do. That's what I use it as. Pushing myself to do something extra to make make myself move forward a bit more. Maybe the aim is to lose weight, or maybe to get fitter, or to do something, but it's giving me a kind of, strategy to play again in some ways. Somebody just wrote that they really liked playing board games such as Scrabble, Monopoly. Yeah, I think we all like games, I think it was the social factor, I think, when I was a child anyway. It was a social factor for me. Thank you for sharing for them, people. Okay, we talked about playing games. Why do we play games? It's for motivation. And we want to motivate our students to learn, is that right? We want to motivate them to learn something in English. And it's quite difficult to motivate them now. You're not going to motivate them by teaching them hours and hours of grammar. You're not going to motivate them by, filling in the blanks or, writing a sentence in past simple. This is not motivation for them. Motivation for them is entertainment, because they are entertained very quickly in these days. They have lots of ways to be entertained. Whereas when I was a child and we were talking about the board games, this board game was a good form of entertainment for us. But we all had to be there. Whereas now they can play Monopoly online. They can use it as an online game. You can use it, there's many, many games now that you can online. I know that during COVID, there were some game sites that appeared where people were, joining together in groups to play online games. I remember I had one birthday during COVID and we were all on lockdown, and I was in Turkey. My son was somewhere else in Turkey. My daughter was in England. And for my birthday, we actually played online games together. It was really interesting. We really liked it because, we couldn't spend time together, but we weren't in the same physical place, but it was a good way for us to spend some time together. So, motivating students is a difficult task as teachers. And sometimes using games to teach vocabulary, or using games to teach concepts, or using games to introduce projects is a great way to motivate them. Look into their inner, way of winning. They want to win. Most students want to win. Most students are competitive. Most people are competitive. If you are not competitive in some way, I really don't believe you. Most people are competitive. They want to be the best. It could be with themselves, or it could be with other people in their class, or it could be, with their family. But most people have some sort of competitive streak inside them, and they want to, play some sort of game. And it also helps us, it helps us with our critical thinking, with our skills. Now they're telling us, things like people, so you don't get Alzheimer's disease. One of the best ways to not do that is constantly to play word games, or to, play word games like Scrabble or interactive games. So your mind is constantly using the critical thinking skills. But how are we going to do it in an ESL classroom? How do we do it in a way that doesn't make it harmful? We're also going to look at that. Some societies now believe that playing games is not a good thing because it makes the students too competitive. But we will see. Okay. So I told you, it fosters motivation and engagement by tapping into students' natural inclination for play and competition. We all have a natural inclination for competition. I don't think I have ever met anybody who doesn't. Maybe there are some people out there that don't like competition, or they don't think that they like competition, but when they actually get into it, it's something that's very exciting for them. So, getting them to putting games into your curriculum, into your lessons, is a way of getting them to learn the vocabulary, learn the concepts, learn the ideas in an interactive way. And like a competition, they need to learn more words to win. They need to know more words to win. They need to know the right grammar exercise to win. They need to know the right concept to speak in to win the game. So it makes them want to compete, makes them motivate to learn more. We all like having fun, right? And fun is an emotional response to learning. What do you think that means? Oh, I just noticed my slide for this one is not very good, but I will explain it. Fun, if we are having fun, we are more than likely going to learn more. I don't know if you agree with that, but I certainly think that when I'm having fun, I'm more willing to listen and learn. Whereas if it's something that's boring me, I'm more likely to switch off, look like I'm listening, but thinking about something different. This works for me in this time. I go to many meetings where I think, oh, this is so boring. And I do switch off, which is a bad thing, really. But I do. And, I start thinking about what am I going to cook for dinner tonight, or, how I'm going to spend my weekend, or, things that I shouldn't be thinking. I should be concentrating on the meeting, but I'm not. I'm thinking about other things. But if a student is given a task and it's seen like a competition, if they are successful at that task, if they can find the correct word, or if they can fill in the blank with the correct tense, or if they gain points for their team or for themselves or for, the whatever system you are using, it helps them. If they get some sort of reward for giving the correct answer, dopamine is released in your brain. And, dopamine is like a happy drug. It makes us happy. So when we get something correct, and if it's difficult, then and we have a greater sense of achievements, then we usually have a greater sense of happiness. Because the more difficult thing that you achieve, you get happy about. If it was an easy question, you're like, it's easy, it doesn't matter. But if it's a really difficult question and you did really well, then you think, oh, wow, I can do this. And your dopamine level goes up quite a lot. And this wants you to learn more because you like this happy feeling. It's like eating chocolate when you couldn't eat chocolate for 3 days. When you eat chocolate after 3 days or 4 days of not eating chocolate, your dopamine level, because of your happiness level, increases. One of the reasons why we all like chocolate. But, getting a reward in something in life makes us feel happy. It's very simple. So can you think of a time where you were in a classroom or when in your life, when somebody said to you, oh, well done, thanks for doing that, it was really well done. How did you feel? And did that influence you to learn more or to do more or to extend more or to do something else that's related to that? Again, write your comments. I really would like to hear them. It's a way of thinking that, if you succeed in something, of course you're going to be happy, especially if it took a while or it took a lot of effort for you to get there. So even just finding a word in a puzzle or completing a sentence in English that you thought you couldn't do is an achievement that makes you feel happy. So that's why games are really, really important. Gamification is your brain's reward system. And when your brain gets a reward, it releases the dopamine that makes you happy, that wants you to continue to learn in this way. I mean, I can think of many cases where I thought of something that I couldn't do, and in the end, I could do it. I did it. There was many things in my life when I had exams to pass, or I had a task to do, or a problem that I had to solve. And I thought, oh my God, how am I going to solve this? But then suddenly, when I did solve it, my brain rewarded itself with saying, thank you so much. So please let me know if there's any ideas that you have that you thought, oh, my brain was happy. Thank you. It rewarded me. And that's what gamification is. It's allowing us to reward our students in a different way, rewarding themselves. We as teachers are always trying to be positive. We are always trying to say, oh, well done, good job, that's great, you did really well, which is nice. But eventually it just becomes background noise if that's what you're always saying to them. But in playing a game and getting rewards, maybe a badge, a rosette on a computer program, maybe going to the next level, or maybe doing a group competition and becoming first, is, this is not the teacher giving the praise. This is a natural praise. And a natural praise makes it fun for us and adds to the, the excitement and makes us want to do more. Did you know? When I was researching for this webinar, I didn't know this, so I learned this. So thank you, because I learned something new. Did you know that there is four types of fun? There is people fun, hard fun, easy fun, and serious fun. And apparently, we have these four different types of fun. And it's very important that we get all four. We don't have to get all four at the same time. But it's very important for us to see this kind of things. And the more fun that we have, the more different types of fun we have in one activity makes that activity more exciting for us. This is the psychological part of my webinar. So obviously people fun, I guess you get that. It's to do with friendship and social learning. People fun, it allows us to hang out with people. It allows us to spend time with people. It allows us to interact, and we have fun doing it. So, for example, when I talked about my story of the board games, so this people fun would be something like, playing board games with my family to me, socializing and making it fun. And if you turn it into a little bit of a game at the same time, socializing with, with some easy fun or hard fun or serious fun, whichever one you want, makes it even more interesting. So, what about hard fun? What do you think that is? Hard fun is where you get challenged, where you get a task and you really have to think about it. And you really have to, maybe you can't give the answer straight away. Maybe you need some time to think it over. But solving some, or having some hard fun is probably a great feeling of accomplishment when you manage to get a reward from it, because it was difficult. Maybe it was a puzzle your teacher said and you couldn't find the answer. You really have to think about it. So you could do hard fun with people fun. You could, look at the puzzle together with your friends and try and find the answers to it. By accomplishing that, it makes it, your level goes higher, because it was really quite difficult and you had to do it. Easy fun, obviously, is like novelty. And, maybe you have a question that's, it doesn't take much for you to answer it. Does anybody play Candy Crush or the equivalent of Candy Crush? This is what we call easy fun. Most game designs revolve around easy fun because it's like a novelty. Maybe you have to collect something, or maybe you need to get some points to move to the next level, and usually it's not to do with skill, like hard fun, unless of course you're doing like general knowledge programs or word problems. It's more to do with, moving the candy in the right place. It doesn't take, maybe it's very difficult for you to pass that level, or maybe, the computer is directing you to buy something extra, of course, which is how they make their money. But easy fun is, I'm sure you all play, you know what Candy Crush is. I'm sure that, some of you have many games that you just play randomly on your phone for easy fun. Okay, the last one is serious fun. Okay, this is, challenges that maybe you are given by your work, by your colleagues. It's a little bit connected to hard fun, but it's also to do with how you behave and how you react. It's a bit more like therapy, I think, serious fun. How you react to the fun that you're having. how you interact with people while you're doing it. So could we, in retrospect, do a whole activity in school that represents all 4 parts of fun? I think we can. You could put them in groups. That's part of the people fun. You could give them a puzzle to solve together. That would be the hard fun. You could also give them something easy to follow. Maybe some sort of treasure hunt where they have to go around the school and find different objects, or, you know, and they have to solve the puzzles together, or they have to do other things like that. You know, these are different kinds of fun that you could do. You could plan your activities where you know, one activity has every part of the fun in it. Maybe. What do you think? I think it's probably possible. Okay. We all know that games include goals and rewards. And that's the thing that I tried to explain to you before that makes gamification fun in the classroom. It gives us time for the, you know, we want to be rewarded. We don't always want to be rewarded by the teacher. You know, there's many games where you can go online and you can create your own avatar. You can make your own, you know, you can change your avatar's clothes by passing levels or answering questions. And there's adult versions, there's children's versions, you know, there's lots of versions of everything we get outside. So having rewards gives us immediate feedback, which we like. And also means that we have this sense of progression. So any kind of game gives us that. You know, I was explaining about Candy Crush before. In Candy Crush, you know, when you get to the next level or you do a task, then you succeed and you win gold bars or whatever you win, or you win extra points or whatever, or you win something. It gives you a kind of satisfaction. And that's what brings you back to playing it again. But also, we have to be careful that we're not just playing games to waste time, not waste time or take up time. All the games that we choose should have some meaningful learning objectives behind them. We need to make sure that when we're giving them a task, we're not just giving it to fill the 10 minutes or fill the 15 minutes of the lesson. We're using it as a time for them to revise their vocabulary, learn something, express their ideas, use critical thinking skills, anything. But it has to have some sort of meaningful task. I mean, the picture you can show is a picture of bingo. Bingo is a great game to play with in primary school when they're learning numbers. A wonderful game to play. And they get really excited, especially if you do it, not the technology version, the paper version. Sometimes students get too much with the technology, but if you take the number out of the bag, they get really excited, or you get someone else to take the number out of the bag and they have to read the number out. So that's a great way of, you know, getting them to read the numbers and identify what the numbers are. You know, if I said a number, what number does that make it? So, you know, something as simple like that is gamification in your lessons. And the idea of it is for them to learn numbers. Okay. So gamification involves, you know, incorporating different design elements into non-game contexts, and it makes it into a game-like experience. You know, we are trying, as teachers, we try so hard to be imaginative. We try so hard to think of different things to do. We try, you know, to make them, you know, interested and learning in a different way. So using game-like experiences to motivate them and engage them is a great way to adapt their learning process. I'm going to talk a little bit about how it can also help you as a teacher in the next part, you know, because it's not just about the students. Teachers also need some help with some things. Does anybody remember this? Do you use this? Did you use this when you were at school? Did you have a star chart? And was your name on it? Did you get some stars? Does anybody remember? I remember I had one in primary school. I had a teacher called Mrs. Taylor. She was my favorite teacher. I loved her very much. She was my class teacher when I was in primary school. And she, at the start of every year, she used to give us this star charts. and we used to have our names, and we used to have to, if we did something good or we did something for good behavior, not just for good work, also good behavior was also rewarded, then we got a star. And we were always counting how many stars we had. We were always counting how many stars our friends had and what we needed to do to get more stars. And if we did something, do you think that they would give us some extra stars? Or if we kept the classroom tidy, maybe Miss Taylor would notice and she would give me a star for helping tidy up the classroom. This was important to us. And modern day psychology thinks that some people think this is not a great way to motivate students, because if you are lacking in stars, then it can be dismotivating for them or unmotivating for them. They might not be able to want to, progress any further. So it's a form of gamification, a very early form, a very simple form. But when I was in primary school, I remember it being used. I remember it being my teacher using it. Does anybody else remember this? Please let me know. It's very quiet today in the chat box, by the way. We're going to have to do, I'm going to ask you a question in a minute where you have to answer the question. So hopefully you are listening to me, and hopefully you will answer. Otherwise, it's going to be a very non-interactive webinar. But there is one part that I really need you to answer in. Okay? So hopefully some of you remember this. Maybe some of you still use it. Maybe you think this is a better way for the students to see their progress. It's a great way for them to look forwards. Gamification is great for classroom behavior. It's unbelievably good. Why do we need classroom behavior? Because behavior management is fundamental to good teaching. It says it on the screen. If you can't control them, you can't teach them. And if you can't teach them, they won't learn. Is it getting more difficult to control students? I don't know how old your students are. Maybe they're university students. Maybe they are primary school students or secondary students. I think it's getting a little bit more difficult because their expectations are higher. And so as teachers, we need to find a way to get them interested in learning so we can control them. When we can't control them, we can't teach them. And it's difficult and depressing and unmotivating for us as educators to try and, teach children who are not behaving well. Many of us think, their parents didn't teach them properly. That's true, but it's still your responsibility. That could be true, but it's still your responsibility as a teacher to try and teach them. So teaching through controlling is the only way. How you control them, I'm not suggesting you scream and shout at them, because this doesn't work anymore. Also, it's not very good for your voice, and the longer you become a teacher, your voice is really important. And so, I'm sure there's many ways that you can think of gamification for using in classroom behavior. We looked at the star chart. This is a way of controlling classroom behavior in a gamification way. It's a very early version. It's a very basic version, but it was used by teachers over the years as a way to, control their students, to move them forwards. Okay. I'm sure you've heard of Class Dojo. I am 100% certain that you've heard of Class Dojo. Class Dojo, of course, if you don't know, I will explain, is a way that you can give points online. It's a free platform that teachers can use. All of the students create their own avatars. Once they've created their avatars in their class, then, you can give points to them. And once they have points, they can buy things with their points, or, they are looking and you can show the class. The other good thing is you can take away points as well. You can remove points for behavior that you weren't appreciative of. But I think in this modern day, it's much better for us to give points for positive behavior rather than give negative behavior. Sometimes I think we do need to give, be certain with students that this is not an acceptable kind of behavior. And if removing points from Class Dojo is the thing that they will make them understand, then of course do it. but know your students beforehand. You know, you may have problems if you do take points away from them. It's up to you. Me personally, I do both. But I do inform my parents when I'm teaching in, this is obviously a primary school application. It's good for primary school students or younger secondary school students. I do inform my parents that this is the way that it works in my class. It's both positive, and if it's a serious offense, then they will take points away from them. What do? Do you use Class Dojo? Do you know about it? It's sometimes difficult to control university students, especially if some player tries to cheat. Yes, in games. We're going to talk about that. You're right. We're going to talk about that. Another option, this is a bit more older, is Classcraft. Same idea. Here they have their own avatar. It's a bit more Anemone based. So students like it a little bit better, I think. All the students like it a little bit better. So this is another way of using, you know, a gamification just to these are not games, you know that. These are just platforms used to give students points to show your appreciation for what they have done. It's not, but it's a form of way of gamification for teachers to use, as in classroom management. So it's a formal way for us to think about it. Okay. We're going to look a bit about how we can use gamification in ESL classrooms now. So points, badges, leaderboards, you can use platforms. They can create a sense of achievement, healthy competition, and students can use to track and showcase their progress. Okay, so these are good ways of using things. Now, are you ready for the next part? This is the part where I think you're going to have to be interactive. We're going to talk about one more thing. We're going to talk about the interactive part. Okay. What kind of player are you? There apparently are 4 different kinds. When you're playing a game, you're either a killer, an achiever, a socialite, or an explorer. So if you look at them, killers are as you can imagine, the most competitive ones. They are interested in winning and nothing else. They love peer-to-peer competition. They love leaderboards. They love points. They love being first. They love this system. If you asked more sports people when they were playing games when they were a child, they would definitely be in the killer group. That would be the kind of people they are. Then you get the achievers. This is a bit like me and my Fitbit. This is not about me competing with somebody else. This is about me competing with myself. And lots of us do that. We're not interested in what the other people do, but we're interested in our own personal score, in our own personal progression. So we set goals for ourselves. Whereas the killers are always comparing themselves with other people, the achievers are always fighting with themselves to get better. They are fighting with themselves to improve. Well, let me know, what kind are you? Me, unfortunately, I'm a killer. I have this thing where I like to compete, and I don't like not being first. Socialites, they are the ones that do games for the social interaction. You know, you may have a student in your class where you're playing a game, and if they answer the question, then I'm not really bothered. But they are interested in their team doing well because they want the social status of being in a good team, of being together. So, you know, it is a bit more like them wanting to be socially accepted. And so they're social gamers. They like the idea of being together. Explorers, they just want to learn more information. And they have an ability, they explore. They want to know, if you ask them a question, they are probably going to, and you give them the answer, they couldn't find the answer, they're going to ask you why. Why is it like that? Why is that the answer? How is that possible? They are the explorers kinds. So, like I said, I am most definitely a killer. I have this thing wherever we went, the people I work with in my office, I live in Ankara. I know you know I live in Turkey, but I live in Ankara. And it was somebody's birthday the other week, so we went bowling. And I have this need to win. I even broke one of my nails trying to win, which was quite disappointing for me. But And I didn't win, unfortunately. So I told them we're going again soon so that I have the chance to get back at winning. So I definitely consider myself to be a killer. What do you consider yourself to be? Come on, let me know. We're very quiet today in my webinar. Okay. This is the one where I definitely need you to help me. We're going to look at now at the different ways of using games in the classroom. University students, high school students, primary school students, it doesn't matter. They all like games. We are adults, we love games. So now we're going to look at the different ways that we can use games in the classroom. And they don't always have to be digital. Don't always assume that gamification, because it sounds like a very digital word, doesn't it? Gamification. Sounds like a very technology use of word. But it doesn't have to be. A paper and a pencil sometimes is enough to make an interesting game. We're going to look at all of the sides of it. Okay? We're going to look at every part of it. So, oh, thank you for asking. Somebody else thinks they're a killer too. Yes. Maybe we should never compete against each other. I think it would be bad. An explorer is sometimes a killer. Okay. Thank you, Francie. Oh, an explorer as well. Okay. Unfortunately, I think it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, I think, being a killer, but unfortunately. Okay, so this is where I need you to look very carefully. Okay. Here you have a puzzle on the screen. Okay. I want you to read the puzzle and tell me what you think the answers are. The answer is. Maybe there's more than one answer. Maybe there is 2 or 3 answers. But I would like you to think about it. And I would like you to try and solve this puzzle. While you're looking at it, I'm going to read it to you. So we have the time for my YouTube channel to catch up. But I want you to read it carefully. And I really, really would like someone to try and answer the puzzle. Okay? So you can read it carefully and write your answers. Think about it and write your answers in the chat box. Okay, so here is the puzzle. I'm sure you can all see it, but I'm going to read it anyway. I mean, if you want, you don't have to listen to me. You can close your ears at this point, or you can turn the screen off and just listen to me like a podcast, but I'm going to read it anyway. So, a man lives on the 12th floor of an apartment. Every morning, he takes the elevator down to the lobby and leaves the building. He's a very hardworking man. In the evening, he gets into the elevator, and if there is someone else in the elevator, or if it was raining that day, he goes back to his floor directly. So if it's raining, or if there's somebody else in there, he goes straight to his own floor. Otherwise, he goes to the 10th floor and walks up 2 flights of stairs to his apartment. Why? Think about it. I'm waiting for your answers or your ideas. Or maybe you could just write, I have no idea. So in the morning, he goes down to the lobby from the 12th floor. There's no problem with that. But in the evening, he gets into the elevator. And if there's someone else in the elevator, or it's raining that day, he gets up onto his floor directly, onto the 12th floor. But otherwise, he goes to the 10th floor and he walks up 2 flights of stairs. Why is that? Why do you think? I'm waiting very patiently for someone to try and give me the answer. You can always tell me that you just don't know. I will accept that as an answer. Think about it carefully. If somebody can go down in the morning from 12 to 0, I'm giving you some clues. But he can only go to the 12th floor if there is someone else in the elevator and if it's raining that day. Otherwise, he has to go to the 10th floor. Why is that? Any ideas? I'm not going to give you the answer yet. I'm going to see if somebody's going to write down in the chat box. I don't want to keep up too much of your time, but try and find me an answer. Ah, we have an answer. He's short. Okay. Can you explain that a little bit more, if possible? If you can write that in the chat box, that would be really good. Please explain a little bit more. Why? What does that connect? How is that connected to rain? If he's short, I will tell the answer a little bit later. Okay. There is other things. There is, of course, lots of digital games out there. Excuse me. Kahoot is a game that I'm sure you all played. It's a game that you've all done, that you use in the classrooms, especially if you're teaching all the university students. You know, there is games that students can use, that they can feel like that they can do. You know, so there's lots of other things that we can use online. And I'm gonna quickly flip between my technology and see if that helps. Okay, I'm ready to see. So I want you to look at something that I use. This can be used in middle school, primary school. There is also an older version of this that can be used with high school students. But I wanted to show the gamification part of this and how to use it. So I'm checking that you can see it. Yes, you can. Perfect. So one of my favorite films is Matilda. Okay, I really, really love Matilda. She's one of my favorites. And we have an answer, but I'm going to come back to it. Okay, in 2 minutes. Okay, so I want you to look at Matilda. This is another way of using gamification in the lessons. Matilda was one of my favorite films. I really liked watching Matilda.
Matilda is good at math.
Way of using
She likes Spanish and geography. She doesn't like PE and science. Let's talk about the subjects you like at school.
So this is a way of looking at something that's real, like the films, and then asking questions about it. So talking about the subjects you like at school, if we click on one of these.
I'm good at math.
Okay.
I'm not good at science.
So then we can move on to the different questions that the students have. These are ways of getting them to do things independently.
I'm good at math. I'm not good at science.
Like me, I'm not very good at science. So this was just a simple way of getting them to use the videos that they've seen and using games to move forward. It's a good way for them. Videos, especially videos that they like. This is more related to, you know, Hollywood videos like Matilda or student-based videos or videos that students can look at. So this is based, you know, and you can use things like this to use gamification through it. So I wanted to talk about that. Now I'm going to go back to my other screen. Getting good at this technology bit. Okay. We're here. And I'm going to go back to my question because we have an answer. It was like a team answer, right? So somebody wrote that he was short. So my next answer was, well, why was it raining? Why can he go up there when it's raining? And we do have an answer. I have another answer question though. Why, if somebody else is in the elevator, can he go to that floor? You are actually very correct. He is short. And Silvana, you are also correct in the fact that he had an umbrella when it was raining. So, for example, if you know the way the elevator numbers are, usually they're in twos. So you have 0 at the bottom. So for him to go downstairs, pressing 0 is easy because it's at the bottom. But when he gets home, if there is somebody else in the elevator, then he can ask them to press the number 12 button for him. Or as Silvana wrote, sorry, I can't pronounce your name, but as she wrote, Yep, he can use the umbrella when it's raining to move him up to the next floor. Now that is, of course, a good answer. Thank you for sharing that. I did this in another training session. I did have an alternative answer, which made me laugh. The alternative answer was he was having an affair with somebody on the 10th floor. And so, because if he didn't want people to know, so that's when if there was somebody else in the elevator, he used to go back to his house first and then go down the stairs. If there was nobody in the elevator, he could go to the 10th floor quite easily. And then I asked about the raining part, and they said that if it was raining, he could easily, he was wet, so he wanted to get changed first and then go back down to the 10th floor. So that was another way of doing it. So these are the different ways. I'm going to take through one more slide, and then I know it's time for us to finish. Projects in different ways. There's digital gamification, there's puzzle gamification, there's project gamification. You know, what do you take to a desert island? This is a standard question that we are always asking. You know, what do we take to a desert island? If you're stuck, what 5 things would you take? This is a form of gamification that helps them with their critical thinking, that helps them with the way of moving things forward. You know, so games are useful for us. We like games, we like puzzles, we like doing things. So please use them in your classrooms. Embrace it. Everybody loves games, and it's a great way to teach. So thank you very much. You know, we started a little bit late, but hopefully I managed to give you some ideas. And thank you very much for giving me your comments in your chat box.
Dear Angela, thank you very much. Thank you for your inspiring presentation. It was really interesting and motivating. What is
yes,
important,
yeah. And thank you for answering my question. You did very well.
Yeah, I tried. Thank you.
No, it was a good
I have a question for you.
Of course.
So you were talking about some elements of gamification, such as stars, badges, leaders boards, motivating questions, etc., etc. So what about some concrete formats of exercises, of some probably serious games? Sometimes they call it serious games. Do you use in your classroom, or would you recommend to use?
I think I can go through this very quickly. That I think that you must know your students before you bring gamification into the classroom, because many students, some students are against it, and you will lose them. So not every student, not every class is suitable for gamification. But the serious game part, again, know your students. Know what they are going to react to. This is the most important thing for any topic in any subject of teaching ESL, is knowing how your students are going to react. So I always spend the first 2 or 3 weeks getting to know my students before I actually move into the teaching part. So the serious games that you're talking about, you know, filling in the blanks, doing of course they are useful. Of course they are. But using things like star charts. Many students, many schools will not use star charts or class dojo or things anymore, because they think that, you know, it's too demeaning for the students who are not getting good points. So it's knowing your students and knowing how to do it. And I think any game should be open for use, but knowing the class that you teach.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Angela. And we would be glad if you just participate in our conferences. We will send you information.
Of course. Of course. I really enjoy doing the webinars. Thank you so much.
We will get in touch with you.
Okay. Of course.
Because you are a very good speaker, motivating, thought-provoking. And well, I think that we'll have we have to get in touch with you.
Of course, whenever you need to.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed doing it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for participating. Thank you all for coming today. We are awfully sorry we were 10 minutes late, but we had some time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, and have a great evening, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Evening.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.